Om Shanti. Good evening. Welcome to Intuitive Raj Yogi. And our topic in this session is wisdom in action. And as usual, we are going to begin with reflection. Meditation has been very deeply connected to the posture of sitting, much like I'm doing now. But why would I miss? What is my objective? It is to improve quality of life. Whatever happens in seated meditation, I know it has to translate into my day-to-day activity. So then what am I doing internally while seated? The idea is I'm reflecting these eternal truths. I want it to move beyond just thought, have such a deep impression through experience. It naturally comes how I move through the day. For that, I will have to be very intentional, very focused and concentrated, fearless, and patient in my seated practice. Even as I sit here now with that thought, I am a soul, a spiritual being. How can I ensure that it moves from just thought to realization and reality? It will always evolve out of letting go. For the thought to drop deeply into the self, to become awareness, wisdom. When it drops that deeply into the self, then it is possible for it to color my action. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. And welcome to Intuitive Raj Yogi. And the topic this evening, wisdom in action. So the reason why this topic came to mind is really thinking about Perhaps maybe you even had some other examples. I enjoy looking at the physical examples we used to do in fitness in terms of its relevance and its parallel. And mainly because we were originally going to call this walking the talk, but moving from something intellectual, actually. And because it feels like it might even be a leap in terms of something you're actually learning and actually for it to be something practical. And maybe there's obviously maybe some parallels, but I'm not sure if there's that full parallel in spirituality. But I was thinking about, I know this example would get passed, but there's one thing of being accepted to medical school, you can get all excited about it, but you might even go to medical school trying to be a doctor. But in the actual having to actually do that actual occupation, there's always seems to be this transition, not to stay intellectual. It's really what's it's quite interesting. When the term intellectual is used, to me it's always a flag that ego is somewhere in the situation. For learning to convert to wisdom, really have to be free of ego. That's true for spiritual and physical. Have to be free of ego. I find the souls that are most successful in any learning situation, they're very open, very humble, if you will, or egoless. They don't get complicated. And they're not really into the show. They're not doing it for show. It's really from the heart that they want to genuinely master this. They embrace the discipline. They are not disheartened by mistakes. So this idea of freedom from ego or lots of self-respect is really important in converting ideas into wisdom. It's interesting that it's not just to repeat something, right? So or even try to be very intelligent in what you learn, which can happen as well. What has your experience been like just using the physical parallel in terms of something like that? Unless you have a different example, that's because even let's say you have an instructor who's teaching you or even showing you for you to actually do it, you have a very physical, it's a very kinesthetic experience. And sorry, you can't hear us. Glenn, if you are there online, could you let us know if the voice is also not clear? I know Shilpa has mentioned that she can't hear us too well. And we're always checking with those on Instagram as well. I'll just continue so that you can make notes and give feedback on voice quality, which ironically is a big feeling that's coming in the question. Is being again the egoless piece. It's a little distorted. So sorry for those online. Unless we use the handheld microphone. Okay, let us do a test here. Let us know if this is in any way an improvement for those on YouTube listening in. Come closer to the mic. Is this better? Let us know if this is better. Way clearer. All right. So sorry for those on IG. We are just, I think, getting there. So we'll just share this. But this idea of, again, part of egoless
is comfortable with quality over quantity, which is one of the main principles of the spiritual study, is that I am done with the show, with quantity, repeating something a certain number of times because I'm supposed to, but I can still repeat it, but now I'm checking every time I say it. I'm checking the quality of the experience. So there's nothing wrong with repeating, but it's now just not checking the box. Yes, I repeated it 108 times, but what was the experience each time? And we have that example of Brahma Baba, who, when he first came into the study, the first student, and I am a soul, over and over, writing this, repeating this, but the feeling I get from the quality of his stage is that each time he was checking, I am a soul. Did I experience it? So, in very subtle mind body disciplines, so that includes the aesthetic arts such as ballet or aesthetic sports, we don't really focus on a lot of repetition. It's actually very challenging, initially at least, to maintain high quality over high reps. So we actually do very little repetition, but very high quality. Even to do one well means that I've learned a lot.
Do you find it's possible that you might be having the thought, I am a soul, and it's still a nice thought?
I can go along quite a while thinking I'm moving along well. And that's why the inaction is so useful, is I will get instant feedback in day-to-day life as to what I'm doing while seated. And that's again the same as fitness. I could be doing lots of what I think are good abdominal exercises, building that core, and then I'm walking along and I slip. And at that moment, I'll know whether or not all that work was worthwhile, whether I'm able to stabilize myself.
I don't know. I'm not even sure if I can articulate myself well, but it does feel like this transition, to be able to feel that that transition is actually going in the right direction.
We are given signs and signals in the study as to whether or not we're going in the right direction. So the biggest one is the phrase Om Shanti. So if I am having a proper experience, a truthful experience of what we call soul consciousness, the experience I am a soul, there will be this experience of peace, regardless of what's going on around me. There will be an experience of peace, even in very noisy, chaotic, unstable situations. If I am truly soul conscious, there will be that experience of peace. We also say your mercury of happiness will go up, so I'll feel lighter, the lightness that little children have for no reason, just lighter, more joyful. And of course, the big one, the connection to God will be more natural, more real and more natural if I actually am. So there's a variety of different signs that I'm moving in the right direction.
I find it quite interesting. It's beyond the word, but knowledge, because it has. I feel like as if we've become, maybe not everyone, but we're in a very intellectual part of the world where we may be studying a lot, repeating a lot of things, and to be able to catch that that's not the direction when it comes to Raj Yoga, to really actually be embodying something. And just when you were sharing on a physical level, you could be doing all these abdominal crunches, thinking that you're actually getting somewhere, but you're not really. And so when you mentioned during the meditation commentary about the letting go piece, how does that work? Is there like a basically a concurrent letting go that needs to happen as I am actually really experiencing what is real.
Today, there was such an interesting question in a class that we had earlier. I found it so interesting. So the practice of Raj Yoga is a journey to return to the innocence or purity of the soul. And the reason we want to do that is because purity is the foundation of peace and happiness, which is what everyone wants. So the question was asking, what is the connection between knowledge and purity? And, if you go up to an infant and say, tell me about purity, they won't know, beside the fact that they can't speak yet, but they won't know what you're talking about because they don't know anything else, right? They don't even know they're pure. But the idea of moving from not pure back to pure is fascinating, and the role that knowledge plays in that. So this was the question. And it was a very interesting answer because it focused on, connecting to a source of purity that purifies, but it didn't really speak directly to the role of knowledge. And so I was reflecting and I thought the whole point of knowledge is to give me the power to let go so I can be with that source of purity. So to say I am a soul, I can't genuinely be in that experience and still saying my car, my house, the two are incompatible. To say I'm a soul means I'm moving into an eternal state, so nothing temporal. The significance of saying I'm a soul, nothing temporal can belong to me. And that letting go frees me to connect to a source that actually heals me, if you will, makes me the embodiment of that experience. So it's really so much, I'd say, a huge sign that these eternal truths are really dropping into the soul, is that I do feel, if you don't like detached, I do feel more free. I do feel more light. I don't get snagged emotionally on things, so I'm more easy because there's this letting go that is implied in every single eternal truth.
When we were sharing about the whole letting go piece, I was thinking about some of the physical parallels you've shared, that even in physicality, you grip really hard is not really a pleasant experience. And yet at the same time, it's already intrinsic. We know that being in this form is a whole lot more of a pleasant experience, but we've lost that memory of being a soul. And so perhaps maybe there's fear that individuals are fearing because they don't know what they're letting go to, and they may not even be conscious of it, but just the fact of telling me to let go and perhaps is what's creating the obstacle, which is why when you're sharing, it really resonated with me about knowledge, is that it's actually waking up something inside, so that which wakes up, you do end up letting go of something else.
Yeah, we've shared many times, I think, in conversations in the past, that the idea of education is to educe or draw out. We use the word awaken or remember. It's very reassuring. And the term that was used in this class we're referring to is that there's learned or acquired, and then there is innate or original. So when we say I am a soul, this is our innate or original awareness. So yes, there's been a massive buildup of the acquired or learned, and that's the part that's actually afraid to let go. It's hanging on to us. So if I start to recognize, or remember, no, I am actually a soul. I'm returning. It's not like I'm trying to create something out of nothing, if you will. I'm trying to become a soul by thinking about, I actually am one. And so as I let go, I'm returning to that state. This is a replacement, not a loss. There isn't a vacuum. There is something there in the letting go. So we're talking about silence this morning and how there's the myth that it's empty. And actually, it's very, very rich. There's no loss, there's no emptiness. It's very rich with that which is eternal. But in order to experience that, I have to let go of the temporal.
Do you feel that, just using this word knowledge in a very general way, given we're in a very intellectual part in the world, that perhaps we've just used just this aspect of knowledge and information in a way that's not about letting go, that it's just nice things to think about. And in a sense, we could really be taking Raja Yoga like that too.
I suppose any of the words that we use might have a certain connotation when I come that could be maybe getting a little bit in the way. But as I move along, rather than changing the words to try to, as I move along, I get to actually access the true meaning of the word, which is quite accurate. So knowledge means this raw material that I want to experience, so it converts into wisdom or understanding. So the word's quite accurate. But yes, we may have developed experiences of the word. Any of the words that we use in spirituality, it seems, are quite loaded. And what many souls then choose to do is let me change the word, which isn't necessarily the solution. I need to change my awareness so I actually have an accurate or different experience with the word. So the word is good, but yes, honesty with myself can say, I've noticed that word is triggering something else inside of me. Let me look at that, be clear about that, be aware of that, and notice how the more I practice soul consciousness, that old connotation starts to fade away.
It's quite fascinating. It's more about just gaining that sensitivity of knowing, am I actually moving in the right direction? Am I actually, or I know you were mentioning about it, but the intention of actually holding that thought, for example, I am a soul, is for a memory to be jogging inside. And yet sometimes some students may not realize they're just repeating it again and again. It might be saying, I'm a soul, so what's for dinner? Or I'm a soul, soul. It's not like these old habits that we have going on inside. And we may not realize that we're not really moving in that direction. Things are still very intellectual.
Every soul is, of course, very unique when they come to the study, and there's different timing for every soul. But the way that we present the Raj Yoga course is, and we say it, but I know for me and maybe for others, sometimes things can go in one ear and out the other. But we say it, and then maybe it's repeated a few times, that the most challenging course is going to be at the beginning. And that's the same actually for probably every study. We do live in a world where we think we're progressing as we advance into higher levels, but the bottom line is the foundation is always the most advanced lesson and the most important. So if I'm a soul who's lucky to recognize that, then I will be quite fascinated and intrigued about lesson 1. It's the most important. Everything depends on it. What is it actually saying? It's saying that I'm, in essence, a completely different species from what I want. It's such a profound lesson to say, I am a soul. So if I'm lucky to recognize the value, the importance, the significance, the profundity of lesson 1, that it's the most important, the most advanced, I will have no problem coming back to it again and again to ensure that I'm actually doing it accurately.
It is often addressed in this particular study that some are very good at speaking, lectures, and so forth, but there's not really a trace of actually feeling that reality. And that stays with me a lot in terms of being able to gauge oneself. Because even when you have used those examples of being in physical fitness and to be able to look in the mirror and actually, am I actually doing it properly? And to be able to even do that within oneself, it's really easy to really have an intellectual conversation. I think anyone can do that. But that's why I've been reflecting so much on that. There is that transition, to actually really go there. And it seems like it's a whole lot more simple than we think. But at the same time, I think maybe we're trying too hard, maybe intellectually, maybe being forceful. And I was suddenly thinking about the word timing that you have mentioned about, but that was really what inspired this particular topic.
As you're sharing, I was reflecting on a couple of souls that I've seen train at the gym, and they just, the quality of their execution of the exercises is very, very high. And then I was reflecting on what we call their dharana, or character. And there are some commonalities, even though they're two separate individuals, they don't know each other. But I've noticed those who have very high quality execution of exercises, very honest and accurate, they have a certain dharana, and there is always humility, always that egoless, that basically I am done with ego. It's still there, of course, but I'm just not interested. That's the fearless piece. I'm just not interested. That is so critical. That honesty, which is a quality of being egoless, that patience, again, a quality of being egoless, the laboring, the trying so hard, the pushing, the forcing, those are all qualities of ego. So coming full circle, it's really, I just want that self-respect to be driving my endeavor. So there's a certain dharana that enables one to move along really well.
Well, thank you. Feels like we need a certain type of character to be able to develop the right kind of character to study properly. It's a beautiful topic and some things to reflect on, but mostly practice is really all that inspires us, I feel. So perhaps we'll have a little reflection.
Every single human soul is a wonder. On the outside, we each have developed an image, what we present to the outer world, very connected to the physical identity, that physical name. A whole world is built around the physical name, the physical identity. As I sit here now, I bring up the physical name that I answer to and reflect on the character, personality of that physical name, that physical story, as if I'm observing someone else. And feeling that there's more to me, a deeper sense of me than is captured by the physical, as if I'm here inside, and so much depth to the self, almost an ancient feeling to the self, something sacred, timeless, very mature within the self. I want to surrender to the pull of that feeling from within. It feels so real. and it's pulling me back to my spiritual roots. It's in there for every single human soul. The awareness of being a soul is inside, starting to awaken at a unique time for each of us. And we simply have to surrender to that pull, that ancient memory awakening. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you for those who've joined on YouTube as well as Instagram, and for your patience. But we hope that on a practical level, it really inspires you to really refine this aspect of soul consciousness. But speaking of soul consciousness, we have posted, I believe, on the website for the center, Raja Yoga sessions for September to December, at least September to November. I think those are on there. So please feel free to go online and check. They are hybrid sessions, so they're both online and on site. And so that may be very useful for those who are actually joining remotely. But as well, other online sessions there. And we always invite souls to actually experience. So we have the online meditation sessions on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays, 6:30 to 7:30, and on site at the Northeast class or Northeast Center on the Fridays, 6:30 to 7:30. And of course, we always have World Meditation Hour. That's on the third Sunday of the month. So all of those details are on the website. Oh, yes, for those who actually live in Calgary, but even if you don't live in Calgary, you live remotely, we do have this very well-known Rakshabandan program that we used to have every year. And so this would be the first time we're actually having it with the public after, I think, 3 years now. And so it will be at Scarborough Hall. Those details are also on the website, but it's 6:30 to 8:30 this Sunday, August 14th. And it will actually be streamed on YouTube at that time. So if you wish to join on site, we really appreciate if you could register. That just really helps us a lot, especially in terms of numbers and gifts for souls as well. And but if you plan to just join on site, you can just tune in at that time, 6:30 to 8:30, Sunday, August 14th in the evening. And thank you, Glenn, for joining with us and all of those online. So we're always welcoming questions and topics. So you're always welcome to type those in the chat box. We keep an eye out here. Thank you again for joining.